Hi guys, in the previous video about who's driving, I explained the basic rules of who's driving, what we're going to be doing and how it's measured and all that kind of stuff. In Who's Driving, we present libertarian solutions. And libertarian solutions aren't new big programs. Libertarian solutions are always only cuts. They are always a delete. They are always subtraction. So in this video, I'm going to talk about what makes a good libertarian solution. And these are the types of libertarian solutions that you need to use during the Who's Driving training. Okay, let's look at the criteria. There's 5 basic criteria. First criteria, it needs to shrink government boldly. I'll give an example. Abolish the Department of Education. Here's another example. Cut the income tax in half. Eliminate the income tax entirely. Cut the sales tax in half. Eliminate the sales tax entirely. Reduce property taxes by 50%. Anything that's big and bold meets the criteria. Here's something that doesn't meet the criteria. Try a 0.01% decrease in our income tax. Not really bold, it's not very interesting. The second criteria is, this is an important one, it has to be within the authority of the office that you're seeking. If you're running for county commissioner, it would be wildly inappropriate to talk about cutting defense spending because they just have nothing to do with each other. Similarly, if you're running for Congress, it would not make a lot of sense to talk about local issues over which Congress has no control. Now, if it's a local issue in which Congress actually does have some control, that's a different story entirely. But make sure that whatever solution you're presenting in the simulation is within the actual authority of the office. And if you're a candidate, make sure that it's even more important for you. The next thing, broad appeal. This is an important one. Whatever you present has to have broad appeal. For example, ending the Department of Education, I could see that having broad appeal. There's a lot of people who are talking about it. You saw in the last Republican debate, 3 of the candidates talked about it. Clearly, this is something that has broad appeal. Now, and just to be clear, and for something to have broad appeal, it doesn't mean it has to affect the majority of people by any means. Rights for transgender people has broad appeal, even though only a small percentage of people are transgendered. So the idea of broad appeal doesn't mean it applies to a lot of people, it just means it can appeal to a lot of people. Eliminating patents doesn't really have broad appeal. Now, if you have some way to present it such that it will have broad appeal, that's fine. But the biggest issue, the thing we want to stay away from is the types of arguments that are just very, very sort of intellectual and abstruse and really only of interest to libertarians. The idea is, if different libertarians would find something interesting to philosophically discuss at the end, that's wrong. That's not the right answer at all. For example, is there anything interesting philosophically about whether or not to eliminate the Department of Agriculture? No, absolutely not. All libertarians agree we need to eliminate the Department of Agriculture. There is no debate on it, and that makes it a good libertarian solution. The next thing, simple. This is a really, 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 really important one. If people can't understand what you're talking about in one sentence, it's just not going to work. And the Department of Agriculture, that's comprehensible. If you talk about shifting people from one department to another or changing some elaborate financial, something that nobody can really understand, it does not meet the criteria of a libertarian solution as defined in the Who's Driving game and what we're looking for our elite social media team. It needs to be plausible enough that you can rebut objections effectively. So, if it's something that's so sort of abstractly, theoretically weird, or something that's so just jarring that you're going to turn people off before the game even really begins, before you even finish your second sentence, people have already stopped listening, that's not the right one. There are so many simple, big, bold libertarian solutions. There is never any reason of any kind to go into these highly just strange or just terrifying or frightening or whatever the types of libertarian discussions. Keep it simple, keep it big, keep it bold, keep it comprehensible. If it cannot be understood in a single sentence, not what we're looking for this particular exercise. If you guys want to debate it in some other form, by all means. And the final rule, this is not one of the 5 criteria, but it's going to be the 6th criteria, or it really should be the 0th criteria, which is this. Your proposal should not grow government at all in any way whatsoever. So, as an example, I want to set up a new commission to investigate wrong, already wrong. That's a new commission, that's more government. I want to set up a new department that will wrong. I want to pass a law that will require Congress to wrong. All of those things are growing government, either expending more, hiring more, or adding more laws to the books. The way to look at these libertarian solutions is they can only come from subtraction, only come from removing something. So, instead of saying, I want to pass a law that says Congress must do blah, 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 just say, I'll repeal the law that allows Congress to do the opposite of that. So instead of saying, here's a new law that says that Congress must whatever, find a way to do that by only repealing laws. We already have too many laws. The last thing we need is another one. We already have too many departments. We don't need another one. We already have too many commissions. We already have too many government employees. The idea is any libertarian solution should cut spending. It should basically involve cutting spending, saving money, firing government workers, shutting down government departments, anything along those lines. And that's a libertarian solution. Now, as I discussed in the previous video, and if you haven't seen that, make sure you watch it, we should be describing these in terms of benefits, not reasons. And just as a quick recap, a benefit is like this. By ending the war on drugs, we'll reduce violent crime. That's good. Here's a reason. Marijuana is logically equivalent to alcohol. Therefore, if you're going to have alcohol legal, it makes logical to have marijuana legal. That's not really a benefit unless you smoke marijuana. So if you don't smoke marijuana, that doesn't really benefit you. So the idea is, let's stick to the benefits. Anyway, that's already covered in the other video. We'll have Who's Driving training going on all this week and coming up in the following weeks. So hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you learned something from it, and I'll see you online.